Hello, this is saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz, where we are promoting jazz through telling the stories. Our guest today is the wonderful jazz pianist, composer, and arranger hailing from the UK, Mr. Trevor Watkis. We ask you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon so we can let you know when we are posting another video or going live. We also ask you to donate to our Cash App in order to support the channel and help us to produce future videos. Our Cash App is $Jazzology 101. That's $Jazzology 101. Enjoy the video. Hi, I'm saxophonist Antonio Parker, and this is a conversation in jazz. Our guest today is one of the jazz lions coming out of the UK. He is a wonderful pianist, composer, and arranger who has performed with the likes of Courtney Pond, John Toussaint, Kenny Garrett, Stanley Turrentine, Gary Bartz, Billy Higgins, James Spaulding, just to name a few. Please welcome our international artist, my good brother, the wonderful pianist, Mr. Trevor Watkis. What's up, good brother?
Good to see you, Antonio.
Likewise, it's been a minute.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, I'm proud to have you. So this is called Conversations in Jazz. And we get to know a little bit about who you are, some things we may not know. And we're going to talk some jazz.
Sure.
Before we get started, let me just say Happy Jazz Appreciation Month.
Oh, thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. All right. Now, I heard about you before I met you. You know, we have a mutual friend, Mr. Munir Nasser.
Right.
Yeah, I remember we're my Howard buddy, and he at a young age took a tour to Europe. And when he got back, man, he told me about, you know, how he had to play on the streets in London or something. And he met these cats, man, and he mentioned you and the alto player, Tony Coffey. Yeah, Coffey. And man, and he was telling me about you. Then I think we met, I don't know, was it at HR 57?
That sounds right. Oh, it might have been Twin.
Oh, on Colorado? Wow, yeah, man. So we go
Twin.
Yeah, we go back. Yeah, man. So yeah, man. I like to ask people. My first question is, who is Trevor Watkis?
Well,
It's not a loaded question.
Okay, I'm a serious musician who's serious about life. I'm serious about music. I have a passion for the piano.
Okay.
I have a passion for inspiring music. I grew up listening to lots of different music, but jazz, I definitely have a particular passion for jazz.
Okay. So we're going to talk about that. You always seem to be a real kind of balanced kind of cat, real laid back. You've always been like that. Like, I'm real kind of high strung. I got to calm myself down. So you always seem to be like a kind of real centered kind of guy.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. That's my default temperament.
Yeah, yeah. But you can go to the other way too. When that's it.
I mean, different situations brings out different things, but that's my default.
Gotcha.
I'd say,
yeah.
I'd say
So
that.
what is your ethnic background?
So both my parents are from Jamaica.
From Jamaica?
Jamaica, West Indies. Yeah.
Okay. And where were you born?
I was born in London.
You were born in London. Okay, that's interesting. So what was it like growing up in London when you were coming up?
Well, as we just said, both my parents are from the Caribbean. They were immigrants from Jamaica that came to the UK in the 50s.
In the 50s?
In the 50s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you were born and raised in London, in UK?
London, yeah.
Right. Okay. So how's that Jamaican culture, how'd you implement that in your situation? You had family?
Yeah, so I've got siblings as well.
Okay.
So most of all of my siblings, apart from one, I come from a large family.
Okay.
There's 8 of us. I got 5
Wow.
sisters
Wow.
and 3 other brothers. One brother was born in Jamaica,
Okay.
but all the rest of us were all born in the UK.
Did y'all visit Jamaica?
Not so much as
Okay.
children, but
Okay.
as we, as adults later on,
Gotcha.
some of us went to meet my grandma and
So what was your environment like? I mean, was it like a, I'm from the hood.
right.
You did? West Philly? And we had to come up, man, we had to scrap, you might have to, so it's just it was a great music culture for us. What kind of environment did you come up?
So, I grew up in an area called Hackney, which is East London,
Okay.
and which is a very mixed community, but a strong black community. Lots
Okay.
of, it's changed now. It's been very gentrified now. But growing up
Okay.
in the 70s and 80s, it's very Caribbean. I mean, my everything in my household was very Jamaican. Like
Okay.
the food, even though I was born in England,
Yeah.
like the food I would eat, the food that my mom would make would
Gotcha.
be all Jamaican.
Yeah.
My mom brought that patois with her. She never
Oh,
lost it. She still
wow.
speaks it even to today.
Wow. That's what's
So-
up, man.
And the neighborhood that I grew up in was very much like that. African, Caribbeans, from all the different islands as well.
Gotcha. What kind of music were you listening to coming up?
Well, as I said, I'm one of the youngest in my family. So I was listening to the music they would play in the house. So
Gotcha.
lots of reggae music.
Reggae? Okay.
My older brother was playing lots of reggae music, lots of Dennis Brown, Burning Spear.
Yeah. Wow.
Then I had a sister who's a bit older than him. Older sister. She was more into like soul and disco and pop and
Wow. That's what's
Donna
up.
Summer and stuff like that.
So do you come from a musical family?
Two of my brothers play music. One brother who's not a professional musician, he was responsible for bringing the first instrument into the house, which is the guitar,
Really?
which was my first instrument.
So guitar was your first instrument?
First instrument, yeah.
Wow. Did you teach yourself how to play, or did you study for it?
Well, he brought the guitar into the house, and I would just pick it up when he wasn't around, initially just fooling around with it. And so the brother that's not musical, then my other brother, Cleveland, he also picked up the guitar.
Wow.
But he also is a vocalist, so he was.
So you have all your siblings are musicians?
No, just 2.
Just 2 of y'all? Okay.
And one is not professional, but still dabbles and.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Y'all played around the house? You played around the house, that guitar?
I did. I mean, when they were gone, I'll pick it up, or I would ask him to show me, how do you play those chords? And I was curious.
So when did you start playing piano?
I didn't play piano until I was about 15, 16.
Wow.
I played guitar from the age of around 10 to 15, 16.
Were you good?
No, I wouldn't say I was good.
Yeah.
I wanted to be good. I was serious.
You were serious?
I was serious.
Okay. All right. So what drew you to the piano?
I mean, my brother had a really extensive record collection with, like, lots of. He was initially it was reggae music, like I said, lots of reggae music, but later on, I guess his taste expanded, so he would have stuff like Chick Corea and George Duke.
Okay.
And initially, I was hearing lots of that kind of music, fusion. I guess it was called fusion at the time.
So you said, let me put this guitar down and pick up piano.
Yeah, I mean, I liked guitarists like, I heard guitarists like Lee Ritenour. I mean, those like fusion guys.
Yeah.
Lee Ritenour, Larry Carlton. But then later on, hearing people like Wes Montgomery.
Gotcha.
So I still had a love for guitar, but around the age of 15, I met some of, some black musicians in the UK who were learning to play. So people like Julian Joseph. There was a center called the Weekends Art Center, WAC. They used to get together. There was a group of musicians used to get together. Courtney Pine,
Wow.
Julian, Mark Mondesi. They used to just congregate, and there was a center where they used to learn about jazz. And
you used to go like observe?
I used to go there and observe a mutual friend of ours. His name was Paul Hunt. He's a great bass player, real natural bass player. He doesn't play anymore. But he's a family friend, almost like a cousin.
Gotcha.
And he told me about this place where they used to rehearse on Sunday afternoon.
Wow.
And he said, "Come down. There's a guy who plays that John Coltrane."
Wow. So when you went down, right? It was something about the piano. Why didn't you pick up the saxophone?
Well, I was playing the guitar initially. I mean, that was my instrument. But
you were playing it. You were sitting playing it.
I would never play with them.
Okay.
I wasn't on that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guitar was my instrument.
Okay.
And I was, dabbling with the piano. I knew a little bit about the piano. I saw Julian Joseph. And he was playing, on a high level.
Yeah. But there had to be some point where you said, you know what? I'm gonna put this guitar to the side, and I'm gonna deal with this piano.
That was 15, 16 was the turning point. Around the time I met Julian, then also I met the great pianist Mo Miller.
Wow. Where'd you meet Mo?
I met Mo at Ronnie Scott's. He was playing with Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers.
Wow.
That band with Gandhi Placico, Jean Toussaint, Terrence Blanchard.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, I knew you had real affinity for Mo Miller.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
The late great Mo Miller, man. So did you got to meet Mo?
I got to meet him when I was 15 years old.
Wow.
They were playing at the Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club.
Wow.
And that was the turning point.
Gotcha.
Because I heard him play, and I was just like, I want to do what he's doing.
Wow. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Mind blowing.
Now, so you you weren't formally trained. You were pretty much self-taught.
Initially, I was fooling around with the piano, just figuring things out for myself. But I did have some classical lessons.
Okay, as a kid, with a guitar or piano.
On piano, not guitar.
Okay.
Guitar was self-taught.
All right. Now, did you play in schools or anything? Were you did you have bands in schools and stuff like that?
On guitar.
You played guitar in the school?
My first ever performance was playing in a school assembly.
Really?
Playing the guitar, playing some reggae music.
So do you still know how to play guitar?
I could play some chords. I could get around.
Man, I bought a guitar some years ago. Man, I was going to call myself teaching myself how to play guitar. I think it's a beautiful instrument, acoustic guitar. And one day, man, I walked in a crib, and the bridge fell. I think you have to have a certain level of heat or something, or air, or cool temperature. But I still got it. I got to get it fixed.
The bridge broke.
Yeah. So that's what's happening, man. So did music come easy for you?
Well, let's see. Come easy. I mean, because I heard a lot of music before. I mean, I think I internalized a lot of music before I even learned to play an instrument, because I was just hearing lots of, I was hearing lots of music growing up as a kid.
Yeah. Okay.
What I did learn on the guitar, I guess I would say I transferred a lot of the, a lot of the music, a lot of aspects of music that I learned on the guitar to the
So
piano.
were you able to how about your reading? Were you able to read music and that sort of thing?
I taught myself to read.
Wow, you taught yourself to read?
Yeah, when I was playing guitar.
Okay. So that's good, man. Do you have perfect pitch?
No.
No.
I think I got okay relative pitch.
Okay.
So I could, yeah.
So when you were playing the piano, right? Mm-hmm. You said you started studying with someone, classical.
Yeah.
Was that at the age of 15?
It's about 17, 16, 17. Yeah.
And what'd you get from studying privately?
He just gave me some foundations about how to hold your hands and reading, technique learning,
Gotcha.
just rudiments of how to execute and, just technique and scales and arpeggios and all that kind of stuff.
Do you remember
some repertoire?
Do you remember when you first heard jazz?
Well, that's a kind of a tricky question because I could tell you. I remember when I first heard like straight ahead jazz for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Straight ahead. Yeah. You remember when you first heard it?
Yes.
What was that experience like?
It was. I was always a curious kid. That's what brought me to wanted to delve deeply into the jazz and investigate further. But so I was always a curious kid with music and jazz. But it was a Charlie Parker record.
Wow.
And
you talking my language now, baby.
It was a Charlie Parker record, and I heard that he was someone that was. Actually, I'm going to go back a bit before that.
Okay.
Because there was a TV show that used to come on. I'm not sure what channel it was, but there was a TV show that was hosted in London.
Uh-huh.
It was hosted by Oscar Peterson. And now this was before I knew what jazz was. I didn't know what jazz was. Mm-hmm. I saw this show that was hosted by Oscar Peterson. This big guy, he had all this jewelry on his hands and chaps and rings.
Yeah.
And he just looked like someone that you needed to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. Just like, I didn't know who he was. He used to have these guests come on. I didn't know who these people were. Later on, I found out it was people like Ella Fitzgerald, Count Basie, Joe Pass.
Gotcha.
But I was young. I was like, I don't know, maybe 9, 10 years old. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't allowed to stay up late. He used to come up late in the night. My older brothers would stay up on Monday night watching this show. And I had to go to bed. So I used to sit down by the door, open the crack in the door, and watch this show. And they didn't know I was watching it.
Wow.
So I was really taking that in. I didn't know it was jazz, but later on I found out.
But you were intrigued by the sound.
Yeah, he had just such a commanding sound on the piano, and just the sound that was coming out. As I said, I didn't know what jazz was anyway. Yeah. But then the guests that used to come on, just yeah.
That's heavy, man, because I'm an educator, right? Mm-hmm. And so, man, I'm trying to expose and I teach elementary school, so I teach showing my kids trying to play some jazz, and they start doing it. And I don't understand. I don't get it because I'm like, when I came up listening to all the disco stuff, Michael Jackson, Sugar Hill Gang and all that.
Same.
Yeah. But when I heard jazz, man, I was like, whoa, what is this? Mm-hmm. And I don't understand, like, why a lot of people, particularly in the African American community, why they can't hear this.
Wow. And
it's like, and it just trips me out, man, because when I first heard Charlie Parker, I think I was about 12. I was blown away. Like, I'm talking about like, whoa, what is this? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering, man, if it's just, I don't know what it is, why some people can hear it and some people can't. And I understand the thing about you got the dance and the music and people want to dance and all that. I like to dance, but I heard just the melodies and it just like blew me away, man.
I mean, because my gateway to that was just listening to people, listening to music that was jazz influence. Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't know all these terms of genres, because when I grew up, genre wasn't a thing. It was just music. Yeah. So I heard the radio. I heard something. Oh, that sounds good. I don't like that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So you decipher with your ear what you like and what you don't like. So I heard music that was jazz influence unknowingly. It was just something I liked. So I liked, Stevie Wonder. Yeah.
No doubt.
And I could hear the jazz influence in, Michael Jackson's music.
Mm-hmm. But let's go back to you. You mentioned Charlie Parker. I don't want to skip over that. You heard a record by Charlie Parker. What record was
I
that?
heard a record.
You remember?
It was some bootleg record. It wasn't like an original record. It had 9 tunes on it.
Okay.
It was very scratchy.
Yeah.
Because the music I listened to was high fidelity records.
Yeah.
It was like, stereo.
Yeah.
Sonically sounding, really sounding good records. But then I just heard that maybe I read somewhere that this guy is someone that's important and you need to listen to him, and he was an important guy. But I put the record on, I was like, I couldn't really hear it because it wasn't one of those. I mean, later on I found out that there was records that had better fidelity sounds.
Yeah.
But this particular record sounded just real scratchy. Like,
See, when I first heard Charlie Parker, it was Bird at St. Nick's album, low fidelity and all that. That's how I thought jazz was supposed to sound. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
I thought, and so when I heard all that high fidelity stuff, I was like, oh, I had to readjust my ears.
Right.
Because I first heard Charlie Parker, and somebody was taping them live, and they made that Bird at St. Nick's album, and that's what I thought jazz was supposed to sound like.
Right.
I remember I had a friend, Eddie Holman, and when I was in 12th grade, he brought me this John Coltrane, My Favorite Things out. He was like, go check this out, man. Because I was talking about Charlie Parker. Go check this out. So I took that thing on, man, and I played it. I said, I couldn't hear it, because I was used to low fidelity jazz. And so it took, but you came from the other way. You were used to hearing high fidelity sonic
Exactly.
thing. And but you said that record had an impact on you, right?
Yeah.
So you were listening through all that?
Yeah, well, listen, I could hear, through all that, you could hear that there's something amazing going on.
Yeah.
There's something going on on that record. And you couldn't hear the bass. You couldn't hear all the instruments, but you could hear the saxophone, and you could hear that there's a genius behind what was going on through all that scratchiness. Yeah.
And that's good, man. That the initial experience with jazz was bebop and Charlie Parker. A lot of people might start with Later Train or the more modern stuff, and they have to learn how to hear backwards. They have to learn with that language, that bebop. A lot of people miss that stuff. So I think it's very important for jazz cats to get that, because they got all the elements of modern music. So I was very fortunate, man, to be able to appreciate like bebop.
Right.
Just starting out listening to jazz.
Right.
Now I had to go back and listen to and learn how to listen to Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong. But I could appreciate that too, because I could hear it all tied together.
Right.
So.
I mean, I went back. I mean, because I initially heard, as I said, jazz influenced music. So I heard people like George Duke.
Yeah.
Ronnie Franklin.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I mean, I guess to me that was jazz.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said, I didn't really put labels on things, but from what I knew about jazz, I thought that was jazz. But then, I mean, I knew about Herbie Hancock from his disco stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
Bet You Love. And
Well, you remind me of a cat that got a high aesthetic value. Like, you just appreciate greatness, great art, whether wherever it's coming. I was like that too. It could be wherever.
Right.
So now, when did you at what point did you know that you wanted to pursue like the study of jazz?
When I left high school, so 17. So because I was a late starter in the piano, I was serious from the get-go.
Really?
So in some ways it was a good thing, but I also felt like I had to do some catching up.
Gotcha. Wow. What was your practice regimen like?
Like 8 hours practicing every day. I mean, when you're 15, 16, you don't have many responsibilities or none even.
Yeah.
Living at home with your mom.
Excuse me.
As long as I was at home,
Yeah.
I was practicing, listening to music, like no distractions. Not like today we have distractions with social media. Just sitting there listening to records from beginning to end.
Wow.
Practicing.
So were there any teachers who really impacted you, as a jazz musician?
Absolutely.
Let's give him some love.
Yeah. Well,
You mentioned Mogru.
Mogru,
Yeah.
who became a very close friend and mentor, and
Wow.
he opened up my world.
He was a real nice cat too.
Yeah, very nice person. He opened up my world, my ears. You know, he told me about people like Phineas Newborn, Alma Jamal. I wasn't familiar with these people. Julian Joseph.
Oh wow.
Who
Okay.
was already, you know, he was already quite pretty advanced. You know, when I was beginning, he was, to me, he was just like, oh, I want to do that. Wow.
Wow.
And he was a bit older than me, but you know, close in age at the same time.
Gotcha. Wow. So you learned a lot from these cats?
Yeah. Benny Green.
Benny Green?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So I got to meet these guys when they came through London.
Gotcha. Wow. Now, were you gigging in the UK before you left? And we're gonna talk about college. Were you during your high school years? Were you gigging around town?
I used to have a few little gigs. I mean, once cause my brother had a band that had a residency, and my brother played a bit of piano as well.
Okay.
He's a singer.
Okay.
He had a residency at this wine bar, and he would play piano, but he'd want to sing more.
Okay.
So when he saw that I was slowly developing on the piano, I knew like one or two songs, and he would say, "Come and play this song," you know, Night in Tunisia or whatever it was. I started sitting in. Then I started to do little gigs.
Okay.
But yeah, as
This is in high school. Wow.
yeah, 16, 17.
Wow. Who would you say, out of all the great pianists, had the biggest influence on you?
Wow. The biggest influence.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or the greatest influence?
I would say Cedar Walton, Mogan Miller. So I got to see Cedar Walton play a lot. I mean, he's probably the pianist I saw the most, because he would come to London and play Ronnie Scott's for like 1-2 weeks straight with a trio: Billy Higgins, Dave Williams.
Really? Wow.
Then later on, Ralph Moore.
Yeah, yeah. So you would go out in high school. Would you go out and check out music?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And all kinds of music, not just.
Oh, you
straight
checking
up
out
jazz.
different kinds of music?
I got to see people like Al Jarreau,
Okay.
Stanley Clarke, George Duke,
Wow.
Mays, Frankie Beverly.
So you was into hip hop and the whole nine?
I was into. I mean, I like the Sugar Hill Gang, like you just
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah. All right.
Parliament.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Did you do a lot of transcribing?
I learned solos. I didn't write them out.
Oh, you learned
by
them?
ear. I learned a lot of. Definitely learned a lot of solos by ear.
What cats were you checking out when you're transcribing?
People like Bud Powell, Oscar Peterson, Clifford Brown.
Wow. And you would transcribe this? Would you transcribe the whole solo?
Yeah.
Wow. What are the benefits of transcribing?
I think it's a way to get, basically to immerse yourself into the language and find out how guys put their language together.
Yeah.
And it was a way, you know, because you learn these standards, and you hear these great musicians improvising over these chord changes, and at first, you know, in my case, I didn't know how to put that together, put that language together to make it make sense, and you hear these great guys who are masters of that, and just putting the microscope up and going deep and learning how they put their language together. I think.
So do you think it's better when you transcribe? Do you think it's better to learn the solo without writing it out, or writing out, or just to write it out?
For me, that works better.
Just to learn it.
Just to learn it, because I think you internalize it more. It goes into your ear, and I find that I retain more.
So you want them cats that can sing back the solo and all that.
I used to sing along with solos.
Huh?
I used to sing along with solos a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what in London? What was the jazz community like in London when you was coming up?
Wow, we're gonna get controversial here now.
Nah, we got to know. And only way we can know is to ask the questions, right? Keep it real.
Very, very segregated.
Okay.
You had the white scene, you had the white musicians, and you had the black musicians. The black musicians didn't really have a platform to develop and learn. I mean, there was so few of us anyway at the same time, but there wasn't any sort of places to play and be in bands, orchestras, and just to develop, So it was very segregated.
Okay.
And you had the white guys doing their thing. It was definitely very segregated.
They were getting all the gigs.
Definitely getting all the gigs. I mean, when someone like George Coleman came to London, it would mostly be like, the Ronnie Scott house band.
It'd be like what?
The Ronnie Scott's house band. They used to have a house band.
Okay.
So
Ronnie Scott's, that's a club in London. Is that a famous club in London?
Famous club that started by the great saxophonist Ronnie Scott.
Okay.
Tenor player.
Okay. And he would bring cats to like from the States and okay. Now, what would the audience look like?
It's mainly white.
Okay.
Mainly white. I mean, tourists.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, not unlike somewhere like the Blue Note.
Okay.
Or the British Vanguard.
But you say you came up in a pretty black community, Africans and the people from different. There was no jazz in that? Was there any jazz happening in that?
No.
Kind of thing?
No.
Wow.
No. I mean, there was. So what I did is immerse myself in that community of musicians that were interested in wanting to learn to develop.
So you had to step outside of your community to get to the jazz.
Yeah, and
wow, that's happening.
And the musicians like Courtney,
the great Courtney,
Pine,
talk about him, yeah.
Julian Joseph. They initially had that center where they used to rehearse.
Okay.
Work on music, but because the opportunities weren't around for the group of musicians that were jazz curious and wanted to develop in that area and not getting the opportunities to work with the mainstream guys that were playing the jazz at the time.
So has things changed?
They formed their own orchestra, the Jazz Warriors. You may have heard the Jazz Warriors.
The Jazz,
Jazz
I
Warriors.
heard it. Yep, the Jazz Warriors. We're gonna talk about Courtney.
Yeah.
Has things changed since the time you were growing up? Are we, is it?
I think there's more opportunities
Okay.
for musicians in education for black musicians, and there's definitely more opportunities in education.
Okay.
And to play. I mean, a lot of what some of us did paved the way for that.
Gotcha.
Just opened up,
okay.
opened up doors for them.
Oh man, y'all trailblazers. We're gonna
Absolutely.
talk about we're gonna get into that at some point. I read that you were always intrigued by harmony. So when you talk about harmony, are you talking about chord voicings, or are you talking about the movement of one chord to the next chord? But
All of that.
Really?
Chord voicings, movement from one chord to another.
And isn't there only so many ways you can do all that?
It's so wide.
Really?
Yeah. So it's vast.
Really? I'm trying to learn that, man.
The piano is just like it's just all there.
Yeah.
And orchestras and.
So let's start with chord voices, right? When you see a chord symbol, A minor 7, what goes on in your head?
A sound.
A sound?
It's a sound.
A sound. So do you sit back home when you shed and try to find different ways to create that like a A minor 7 sound?
Yeah.
Okay.
And look at the different ways you can, different ways you could voice the chord. Different registers of the piano.
Okay.
So many different ways you could voice that chord.
Wow. I need to learn all that stuff, man.
I'm still learning myself.
Oh, man. All right. Do you have a musical philosophy? Or life philosophy?
Yeah, I think decide what you want to do and do it with put 100% and do it with passion.
Yeah, no doubt.
Whether it's whatever it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right, we're going to talk about. I just learned you went to Berklee. I didn't know that. What made you choose Berklee? Berklee College in Boston, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I had to bring up Junior Joseph again because he's been a pretty strong influence on me, and he went to Berklee.
Okay.
And I heard about Berklee just through looking at few magazines. I used to buy Downbeat magazines. They used to have those advertisements at the back of the magazine.
So you were chasing this jazz thing too, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of the cats went Berklee. I mean, Roy Hargrove,
Yeah.
Josh
But
Red.
I want to say that one of the things that helped jumpstart me to go to Berklee was meeting Donald Brown, the great pianist from Memphis.
Great, yes, yeah. Wow. Where'd you meet
Donald
him?
Brown. I met him in London again at Ronnie Scott's. That was definitely the meeting place.
Was he teaching at Berklee?
He was teaching at Berklee.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things
I remember seeing him on a video with the Jazz Messengers. An old video from a few years back, and he was when Wynton Marsalis.
Yeah.
Because at the time when I started playing.
Yeah.
Started being curious about jazz. Wynton was big.
He was
like.
We'll talk about that. Yeah.
I remember seeing a video with him playing piano and Bramford.
Yep.
But later on, so the whole thing with the Jazz Messengers, they used to rotate the bands, and new guys would come in, old guys would leave and go on with their own careers. Donald Brown left at some point, but I guess he rejoined the band when I saw them it was around 1986, 87.
Gotcha.
And he rejoined the band with Wallace Rooney, Jean Tussaud.
Wow. Yeah.
Kenny Garrett.
Wow.
And Peter Washington on bass. And
Wow.
so he was already teaching at Berklee at the time, but I guess they were looking for a pianist still, and maybe that tour he was able to get off from school, or the teaching position allows you to tour as well.
Yeah.
But somehow he was in the band again, playing in London at Ronnie Scott's.
Wow.
And he was Julian's teacher at Berklee. So he knew. So I knew he was Julian's teacher. So I was like, I'm gonna go and see him at Ronnie Scott's when he plays with the Jazz Messengers. So I went down to the club, met him, and I asked him for a piano lesson. I was bold. I said, so there used to be a piano upstairs at Ronnie's during the intermission. He said, "Yeah, come upstairs and play something for me." I played him something, and he said, "You should go to Berklee. You should apply for Berklee."
Were you aware of Berklee prior to that?
Yeah, because Julian was.
Yeah, okay,
Julian
gotcha.
was.
Yeah. So did you know at some point, in order to pursue this passion for jazz, that you were going to have to leave the UK and come to the States?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because
was there any trepidation when you finally?
No, I thought that. I mean, jazz. I mean, meeting all these great musicians. Because I got to see so many great musicians coming through London. Bramford, Wynton Marsalis, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers.
You mean coming from America?
Coming from the States.
Yeah, the States to London.
To London. So
yeah.
I got to meet all these guys, and I just thought, if I want to learn this music, I need to go to the place where that comes from.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
to me, it seemed like a natural thing to want to go to the source.
Gotcha. What was your major when you got to Berklee?
Composition.
Composition.
Yeah, composition.
And we're gonna talk about your writing and all that because I know you're doing a lot of writing. I read that when you were at Berklee, you would go take trips between New York and Boston. What was that like?
That was exciting. At first, I didn't go to New York for quite for a good 6 months. I was in Boston. That was the first time I ever went to the States. So
Gotcha.
that's my introduction to the US.
Yeah.
Acclimatize myself.
Yeah.
Then
was it a culture shock? Was it different?
Just like the smell of the gasoline. Big cars and big streets.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I was still, as a student, I wasn't in the dorms. So by the time I got to Berklee, I was quite an older freshman.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 20, 21.
Okay. And you got to get some scholarship?
I got a little bit of scholarship from Berklee.
Okay. Now, who was at Berklee when you were there?
Let's see. Julian Joseph had just finished, but he was still around Boston, so he was pretty instrumental in introducing me to the students that I was later got to meet and became really good friends with. So people like, Mark Turner,
Wow.
Antonio Hart,
Gotcha.
Layla Hathaway, Mark Gross was kind of finishing up still.
Gotcha. Yeah. You was there with some heavyweights, man.
And Joshua Redmond was down the street.
Yeah.
He was at Harvard, studying at Harvard, so he used to come to the school a lot. In his breaks when he had time, but he was at the school to the point where some people actually thought he was at Berklee because he was there so much.
Wow, that's crazy.
We got to play all the time.
Wow. Did you finish Berklee? Did you graduate?
Didn't graduate.
Okay. Now, we're gonna talk about New York. When you finally went to New York, and I remember that time. What was the scene like in New York back in those days? It was around the late 80s, early 90s?
The first time I went to New York was 1990.
1990, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I remember it quite vividly. Art Blakey was...
What was your feeling? What was the energy like?
I was excited. I got in this car with a bunch of Japanese musicians from Berklee, and we set off at like 1 a.m.
Wow.
And it was like I just jumped on the opportunity to hitch a ride with these guys. They were going. I heard that they were driving into New York. I was like,
really, wow.
It was a scary kind of experience because these were Japanese guys. They weren't even used to driving on the American streets. But I jumped in the car with these Japanese guys, and we headed into New York.
Wow.
And Julian was actually in New York at the time. He was there that week that I drove in with these guys. And Branford was playing at the Vanguard.
Wow.
With Kenny Kirkland.
Yeah, man.
And
so you want to check out music?
Yes. So in one night, my first night in New York, we went to see Branford at the Vanguard with Kenny Kirkland, Jeff Watson, Bob Hurst. And after that, we went to Bradley's, where Mulgrew Miller was playing.
Wow.
Playing duo with Ray Drummond.
Wow. And did Mulgrew remember you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We stayed in touch.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was some of the you also was Roy Hargrove? Was he playing around?
I didn't see him. I think the second time I went to New York, he was at the Vanguard. They were doing a recording with. He was doing a recording with Ralph Moore and Kenny Washington.
Okay. Now, what was some of the when you would go to New York? What were some of the clubs you would frequent?
I went to the Vanguard. British Vanguard, Bradley's,
Bradley's,
Blue Note, wasn't my favorite club, but I went to the Blue Note quite a lot.
Went to Blue Note?
Zeno's was another piano bar.
Okay.
I used to see people like Morgan Miller and Ray Bryant used to play there.
Wow. That's
Birdland.
Birdland. Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, Iridium.
Okay.
Iridium, the original Iridium, where it was used, where it was previously. It was a different location. It was a hotel. In a hotel, yeah.
We were talking, and you told me that the week that you got to Berklee, was that Finney's newborn, the great Finney's newborn that passed?
The great Finney newborn has passed away. I didn't know he had passed, but I heard that he had passed, and there was a tribute organized by James Williams.
Wow.
At this hotel, and it was like a whole afternoon of piano.
You went?
I went.
Wow. How was it?
It was amazing. I mean, Moger, I heard Moger was going to be there, and it was
wow.
hosted by James Williams. Donald Brown was there, because Donald Brown actually had left Berklee and went to Tennessee.
Okay.
So by the time I got there,
okay.
even though he was one of the people that initiated my wanted to go and study there, but I didn't get to study with him because he had left by the time I got there. So James was there, Harold Mayburn, Joey McKean. It was just like a whole host of pianists. Charles Thompson.
Wow. That's great, man. I want to talk about this period of jazz. I call it the Young Lions period. I guess you could say the middle 80s, the 80s, and going into the 90s, and it was just like jazz renaissance amongst young cats, and I think Winton and his band, they were at the helm of it, and I remember being in high school, man, and Winton would come, and he just had a certain swag, and you know, the Black Codes, that album was out. It was just a vibe, you know what I'm saying? I was in school with Christian McBride and Joey DeFrancisco. We were under the tutelage of Mr. Lovett Hines, and we were trying to learn this music in Philly, and I think it was happening like in different cities, around the country.
Yeah.
Roy I remember in my 1987, my senior year of high school, they had the downbeat competitions. That's where I first heard Roy Hargrove. It was in Chicago, 87. And I think Russell Gunn was there, and Bruce Williams. And I was in the Philadelphia All-City Jazz Band. We had Christian and Joey DeFrancisco in our band. So it was just a bunch of young cats that was like hitting. You know, we heard Roy.
So you were the same age as Christian?
I'm a couple years older. Yeah. And then I got to Howard, and you know, Mo Better Blues was out, so jazz was it started to become cool. I remember as a freshman, I heard this guy named Courtney Pine.
Right.
You know, the Children of the Ghetto, and it was just, I used to have this box radio. Back then, I would have him play, Courtney Pine playing. I had my radio man blast.
Wow.
And Courtney, man, you know, it was something about his sound that really resonated with me. And I mean, I was like, wow. And I remember this album. We sitting around the dorm. It was an album. I think it was Branford's album, but Courtney was on it.
Right.
They were going there, and we were just like into the music.
Right.
And you know, all in. And see, at the same time, hip hop was burgeoning.
Right,
You know,
right.
we came up with and so we came up in a time where this hip hop thing was taking off, but I'm trying to chase this jazz.
Right.
Sometimes I wish all them cats went and got all this money. You know, but no. And so it was now was that happening in London at the same time? You mentioned the Jazz Warriors.
Yeah.
So was he starting that thing in London?
He was definitely one of the founding members.
Okay.
Because I think for the lack of being able to have platforms to develop and thrive.
Okay.
I think the black musicians decided that they were going to form this organization and an orchestra where they could, you know, develop and play, and have a community, because opportunities wasn't presenting itself in our.
So was Courtney Pine a mentor? I mean, was he a cat? Did you know him personally?
I knew him personally. I mean, he's a bit older than me. A mentor. He's definitely a mentor to lots of younger musicians.
Okay.
And he's definitely someone that I saw. I was like, okay, this is another black musician who's put together this organization. One of the people that responsible for putting together that organization.
Yeah. At some point, he got put on. You know, back in them days, we had jazz labels, Columbia, you know, Warner Bros. Whatever. He was getting some love.
Yeah.
Here in the States, so he got put on some way. I don't know how that happened.
He got well. Initially, it was the Jazz Warriors. Then I guess eventually it became the Jazz Warriors featuring Courtney Pine.
Yeah, and then Courtney Pine.
Yeah, I mean the Jazz Warriors got signed to. They did one record that was signed. I think it was on the Island label, same label that Courtney was on.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah.
So Courtney got signed to a major label.
Wow, man, he which was great. I think that was good for us. You know, now we had Ralph Moore was in New York, right?
Yes.
At the time, another UK great. You know, I remember seeing Ralph Moore. He would come to DC. He was at the One Step Down, man. He had this sound, man.
Yeah.
And this cat could build a solo.
Yeah.
Was he at Berklee as well?
He went to Berklee many years before I went there.
Yeah.
He was there in the 70s.
So
with Jean Toussaint and all those.
Yeah. Okay.
That generation of musicians.
Yeah.
Ran from the Siders. They're from that generation.
He's from that. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you make the UK connection with like Ralph Moore and those kind?
Well, I didn't know about. I mean, Ralph. So Ralph was born in the UK. He grew up in Brixton.
Okay.
I think he left when he was about 12.
Okay.
Because his father
So he's already.
His father was American, so he went to high school in the States.
Gotcha. Okay. So he was already acclimated.
Right. Exactly.
Into the thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I found out about Ralph when he was playing with Horace Silver's group.
Okay. Yeah, man, but that Young Lions period, and you caught it. You know, at the time I came to DC, and I was in college. I was at Howard University, and again I met Roy in high school, and then we were in New York that summer during the NAACP AXO competition. We playing on the corners, you know, and then freshman year, that Roy, I see him on an album with Bobby Watson, Horizon.
Okay.
And I said, oh man, he was just, you know, I mean, I'm watching all this Young Lion stuff develop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then next thing you know, he got Diamond in the Rough album. We in college, like, you know, and me and Munir had a mutual friend who went to Howard that was cool, that was from Dallas.
Okay.
And he would, so Roy, when he would come and play in DC, he would come on campus. So I was getting some of the New York love thing just with those cats coming to DC, Blues Alley and that sort of thing. Then they would come to Howard, they would come on campus, check out the girls and all that kind of thing, you know. And then, you know, but that was a powerful period for me.
Right.
You know, it made you think that, man, I can, you know, find me a place in this jazz thing. You know, and, you know, but you were in New York at the time. Like you said, did you live in New York or you just?
I used to always go back and forth. I mean, initially when I was at school.
Okay.
Then when I eventually left Boston, I went back to London.
Okay.
But ever since that initial trip to New York in 1990, I always maintained connection with the New York jazz scene. I always go back and forth, spend months, summers.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. As you do today.
Right.
Munir told me about this wonderful.
And DC as well, though.
Yeah. Well, you know, we got a little vibe here in DC.
Always made. Even though I would spent a lot of time in New York. Always, over the years, maintained a connection with DC. I mean, with yourself and Munir. And
Yeah.
got to familiarize myself with some of the guys around here, like Chris Fun and Raymond Angry. I met you guys all around the same time.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow. So Munir told me about when he got back from his trip back. He told me about this young alto player named Tony Coffey. Who's from UK? He's from London.
He's from Nottingham.
Okay, that's
about 3-4 hours outside.
okay.
Yeah.
So where did you guys meet?
We met in London.
Okay.
He actually did go to Berklee.
Oh wow.
He was there for maybe like a semester or something. But I didn't meet him over there. I met him in London.
You met. So you knew him before you went.
No, I met him after.
When you went back home.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all connected.
We connected. You know, as I said, you know, musicians gravitating towards this music. We're all gonna come together because the community's small. The community's pretty small.
Where'd you meet Munir?
I met Munir. I met him through Tony Coffey and Byron because they had met Munir.
Okay.
And they said, "Oh, there's this trumpeter who's the son of Jamal Nasser."
Wow.
Then you know, my natural curiosity, you know, I figured out that Jamal Nasser, I was familiar with him, with that bass player through those records he did with Red Garland and under the name George Joyner. So
wow, yeah.
I was like, oh, I want to meet him too. You know. So, I think I went down to a club called the Bass Clef. I think that's where I met Munir.
Wow.
Bass Clef.
What was your impression?
I was like, wow, well, what are you doing here? I mean, because he was, I was just curious, you know, what you doing? Are you playing with someone? You know, and I was pretty impressed with the fact that he wasn't on a gig, but he was just curious enough to get on the plane and just come and want to check out England and the rest of Europe.
Because y'all developed a close kind of friendship over the years.
Absolutely.
And he's got the kind of personality, man. He's, you know, he like me and Munir, man. If I laid the question, what is it? You talk a jazz question?
Yeah.
I can ask him, and he's like a
historian.
Yeah,
musicologist.
Yeah, I actually met Munir's brother before I met Munir, Zaid Nasser. Before I met him, and it's like we connected. Like when we met at Howard, it was like a connection, you know, Philly, New York connection.
Right.
But it was the music, I think. Then we were into the blackity black thing.
Right.
The consciousness, you know, black consciousness, you know, that and so all that, and then he was spiritual, you know, because I was trying, I had a little spiritual thing too, and so he was like a mentor to me because I could ask him a bunch of questions. Right. And he was well read, and so that was our connection. Yeah. That so I tried to, that's and people like that about him. Yes. That's like a thing that I'm trying to get him to know how to put that thing together and make,
Yes, very well schooled.
Yeah, just
well read.
Yeah.
On life and music.
Yeah, he's just so it's good to have friends like that, man. Who you can, you can sit down and you ain't just talking. We can talk about girls and all that, but we can talk about the music. We can talk about, politics. We can talk about spirituality. Yeah. And that kind of thing. And that's all jazz for me. So yeah. Anyway, where are we? So we almost to the end, man. Don't worry about it. I'm good. All right. Now, what are some of the popular jazz clubs in London? I went to London. I've been to London a few times. Played at, I think, the Jazz Café. Yeah. That's that big stage, and you can go.
Yeah, I saw you there.
Yeah, with the Blackbirds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Man.
In Camden.
Yeah, man.
Popular jazz clubs, Jazz Café. These days don't have too much jazz, but at back then, in the 90s, it was still a new club, and it was pretty much having lots of jazz there. Jamal played there. Yeah. I think he's one of the first people to play there. Gary Bartz, Stanley Turrentine, lots of people. I got to play with some of these guys at that club. But Jazz Café, Ronnie Scott's, as I mentioned many times. The Pizza Express Jazz Club,
Okay.
which is also in Soho. Those are the three main clubs that have international musicians playing there.
Wow.
As well as concert halls where they have concerts.
Yeah, gotcha. All right. Now, we'll talk a little bit about you as a performer. Who are some of the musicians you've performed with? We mentioned some, but you've played with a lot. I was checking. I said, oh, he done played with a lot of people. I saw you, man. I was on YouTube, man. I said, Kenny Garrett. I said, oh. I said, wow, man. That kind of, that was. I said, well, man, you was holding it, man. How'd you get? And I think we talked about. How'd you get that hit gig, man, with Kenny? What was that at?
That was the one that's on YouTube. That video.
Yeah.
That was in Germany.
That was in Germany.
Yeah.
So how'd you get connected with Kenny?
Well, I first met Kenny around 1985. He was playing with Freddie Hubbard's band.
Yeah.
That's when I first heard him play. I met him, but I guess I maintained a relationship with him over the years from 1985.
Did you hear his group, that Out of the Blue, OTB?
Didn't hear that band. I don't think they came to the UK. That group.
Okay.
But I did hear. I mean, I heard some of the records. But never saw them live. But I first heard Kenny with Freddie.
With Freddie Hubbard. Okay.
Freddie Hubbard. Then he joined the Jazz Messengers.
Gotcha.
So now I got to see him again. Then through Mo Grimilla, because him and Mo Grimilla,
African exchange student.
they were very good friends.
Yeah. I love that album.
They have a lot of history together.
Yeah.
So, so over the years of coming to New York, I always stayed in touch with Kenny, and just always spoke on the phone. And, what's up? When we came to London, we'll speak on the phone. I'll go down to the club. So we just maintain the relationship. So you asked me how did I get that gig?
That gig, yeah.
So his piano player couldn't make that particular tour.
Really?
So Kenny called me.
Wow. And you were ready? Did you know his music? Or you had to learn it?
I had to learn it. It was what you would call baptism by fire.
Were you nervous?
I mean, yeah. I mean, nervous in the sense that I had to learn his music on the soundtrack. We had no rehearsal.
Wow.
Not nervous in the sense that I actually was personal friends with the band leader, so I knew him. But at the same time, he's someone that I also look up to as
I mean, you held your own in there, man.
Older musician that was trailblazing. The Trailblazers on the alto, one of the great alto players. Yeah.
Man, you held your own with that, bro. I was checking. I said, wow, okay.
It was.
Yeah. I said, man, wow. What was that experience like for you?
Like I said, baptism by fire. Baptism by fire. But those are the kind of experiences that help build you up as a musician. You're just being thrown into
deep waters.
Thrown in deep waters, and just what you gonna do? You got to swim.
Wow. Now you mentioned that I read also that you're very versatile, that you play different styles of music, and not just jazz. I know you love jazz, but you play, what kind of other music do you play?
I mean, I've played R&B, some hip hop. I mean, I won't say I play those music per se, but I have been thrown in those situations. I play some reggae.
So in London, do they have like the hip hop scene and all that and all that? So you go into the different scenes and
no, I don't really do that.
No.
But I mean, I go check. I mean, I'll go and hang and listen. I mean, I'm always curious. I mean, I listen to all kinds of music, so I'm always curious about who's. I've got a young daughter. Well, she's in her 20s, so I'll stay abreast of what's going on with the current trends and who's hip.
No doubt. What is the Lineage Band?
That was a band that was put together by myself with some of my peers in the UK. Trumpeter Byron Wallen and the alto player you just mentioned, Tony Coffey, and Rod Youngs.
Rod
Youngs, yeah.
Rod went to Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Rod very well. It's my frat brother, 5 years age.
Right.
Yeah.
Rod
I
Youngs.
remember when he moved
To the UK.
Yeah, to the UK. Yeah. Wow.
And bassist Larry Bartley.
Okay. Wow. That's what's happening, man. Are y'all still a unit or?
No, things didn't really work out with the band as far as we didn't go anywhere. But it was a great idea. we didn't go too far. You know, different directions and.
That's cool. Hey man, you gotta start somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
Are you working a lot in UK? Do you work a lot?
Not as much as I like to.
Not as much you like to.
But you know, I do different things. I create projects and.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I do my own band when I can.
Gotcha.
But I create different projects. And
we're gonna talk about you as a curator, right? Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, you're also a composer and arranger. What inspired you to write or to compose?
I'm always curious. Like you was asking me about harmony, and one of the things that I found in my curiosity with music and harmony was, okay, I'm curious with harmony, how things are put together. So I would often use my curiosity with harmony and to investigate composition.
Oh,
so
wow.
use composition as a bed to explore harmony.
Wow. Okay. Beautiful. Did you study you said you studied composition at Berklee?
Yeah.
Were you studying with someone that taught you?
No.
No.
Not anyone to any note.
Oh wow. And you do arranging. You arrange stuff too.
Yeah, that's all self-taught.
All self-taught.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I hear you. It's something about, I always say, man, it's something about learning some stuff on your own. You know, like you say, investigating on your own. You know, instead of waiting to always be taught certain things.
Yeah.
It's a certain type of thing that you can get through just exploration and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, but that's good. You know.
Yeah.
Do you have an arranging process or composing process?
No. It's literally like, you know, I sit at the piano and I just put together some things that I hear. So it's not any kind of formulative, systematic way of doing it.
Oh wow! And have your compositions been recorded and that sort of thing? I know we're gonna talk about your recording. Have you done like any work for it?
Yeah, I mean, I've recorded my own album with mostly my compositions.
Yeah. That album's called Straight Ahead Ride for Tone. Was that written for me? What's the concept behind that album?
Well, I mean, the title or just the album?
That's interesting. Straight Ahead Ride for Tone. Was any meaning in that?
Well, I just thought I wanted to write songs that just got to the source of like melodies and harmony that was just, you know, straight through, nothing too over complex.
Gotcha.
Melodies that, you know, I was just demonstrating that side of my writing where I wanted to write.
Is this a straight ahead kind of album?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to demonstrate strong melodies.
Gotcha.
And supporting harmony.
Wow.
And just, yeah.
Is that your only recording? That's right.
That's far, yeah.
Okay. So that's your debut recording. Have you played on other people's recording? Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of people back in the UK.
Some people in the UK.
And some people here.
Some people here.
All right. Cool. Anything new? In the works? Working on anything new?
I've been working on this. I've been curating this project that I put together celebrating the legacy of this great trumpeter, Dizzy Reese.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Okay. Oh yeah, the great Dizzy Reese.
Lots of people don't know about Dizzy Reese.
I got to see Dizzy Reese one time. His chops wasn't there when I heard him, but Monet had to tell me. Monet had to kind of say, "Nah, boy." So he sent me to a record or something.
Right.
I said, "Oh, okay."
Right.
Got you.
No, Dizzy Reese.
Yeah.
Phenomenal musician.
Yeah. No doubt.
Jamaican musician.
Yeah.
Lived in the UK.
So what's a curator? I mean, when you say I don't know. I heard that term, curator.
So someone that has an idea.
Okay.
And basically puts all those elements of the idea to make them happen.
Okay.
In the form of a performance.
Oh.
Or an event.
So I guess when I was in the 1992, I was the president of Fine Arts Student Council at Howard University, and I put on a concert called The Young Lions, and it featured Alan Palmer, Roy Hargrove, this alto player named Robert Landon from Philly, Tim Warfield, Christian McBride, and this drummer named Aaron Walker. And so I was curating.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So and it's on YouTube, by the way.
Okay.
And so that's the first time that I really felt to put something together, and I was sitting back watching like, wow, I did this,
Yeah.
So you have these ideas, so when you so do you get a grant how do you put these things together?
Yeah, they have government bodies in the UK that support arts.
Okay.
So Arts Council.
Okay, cool.
The UK.
Yeah, and you've done in 2013, you created a special educational performance and composition project to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King's iconic 1963 "I Have a Dream" speech. That was entitled Martin's Dream. Mm-hmm. Wow, beautiful.
Yeah. We did a performance in Trafalgar Square. Oh
wow, is that
That's an iconic place in
the
UK.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right in the center of London.
Wow. And then in 2014, you did something called Jazz Sounds of World War One.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh, very good. It celebrated 100 years since the end of World War One and began. What inspired this?
Well, it was the fact that the anniversary was coming up.
Okay.
So it was inspired by just the anniversary coming up. And
did you write music particularly for these?
No, for that particular one we played music by James Reese, Europe, and some of those early jazz. It was actually even before jazz was even called jazz. So that's.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
The jazz.
Exactly.
In 2015, you did something for the Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. Whispers to Katrina. So, so you were impacted by that scenario?
Yeah, I was definitely impacted by
how that went down.
Just the magnitude of that disaster and all the people that lost their homes and died, and the way, particularly the way how black people were treated. Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful.
And just use that as a way of celebrating the anniversary of that, and also all that music that came out of New Orleans.
Okay.
So we're highlighting all of that New Orleans music.
Okay.
And it's an educational project, so these kids got to learn about, second line and.
Wow. Beautiful. Then you did a centennial project to celebrate jazz icons such as Ella Fitzgerald, Dizzy Gillespie, Thelonious Monk. Man, you getting a lot of money. You the go-to man. And
it's all educational.
That's how you do it. As part of National Storytelling Week, in conjunction with the series called Untold, devised by arts organization Small Green Shoots, you curated a project called Scories. Did you come up with that title? Scories.
Someone from Small Green Shoots came up with the title.
Okay.
Yeah.
You wrote original music. Okay.
Yeah.
For a small chamber group. Set up narration. You doing all this? Wow.
And the fact that the Edward P.
Huh?
Edward P. the author.
Edward P. Jones. And
he's actually a DC writer.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Lost in the City from his book Lost in the City.
You familiar with Edward P. Jones?
No, I've never heard of him. Wow, man.
New York bestseller. He's a big.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in 2019, are you trumpeter Dizzy Reese? Now that's the most recent thing you're curating. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about it. What inspired you to do something for Dizzy Reese?
Well, I got to meet him in person, but it was initially a mutual friend of ours, Dermot Hussey.
Okay.
He was actually based in Maryland at the time. I connected with him. He's a musicologist, broadcaster. Someone that's got a great track record as a journalist and broadcaster, and from Jamaica, then came to the States to work with Sirius XM. So he initially told me about Dizzy Reese being still alive. Like, I didn't know. I mean, I heard of Dizzy Reese through some of his popular Blue Note records, but I didn't know he was still alive and what happened to him. So he kind of, tweaked my ear, to so to speak, to say, oh, Dizzy Reese is still alive, and Dermot was aware of some of the projects that I created.
Wow.
And says, maybe you could incorporate him in one of your projects. And I just said to myself, noted.
Yeah.
And the opportunity arose, and I was able to get a grant to put together this project, which initially was to celebrate this great iconic trumpeter that's almost forgotten. I mean, he was on the UK scene in the 1950s.
Wow. Miles
Davis heard him play.
Wow.
Coming from Jamaica, so we've got that mutual connection because my parents being Jamaican.
So were you playing his music?
His music, yes.
Okay, beautiful. Wow, that's beautiful.
So I arranged his music and put together this international band. Some guys from New York and some guys from the UK. Beautiful, man.
Man, you're doing great things.
And we did a recording as well.
Y'all did a recording?
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's available.
It's coming out in the summer.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Man, you doing some great stuff.
Yeah, we got a chance to tour around the UK, and we even played in New York.
Yeah, man. Well, man, it's funny because we learned that we got to just be more than musicians. We gotta.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So but that's great that you're doing that, man, and keeping this music and the culture and the lineage going, man. Because if we don't do it, it doesn't get past that.
That's right.
You did?
Yeah.
So man, keep doing that. Whatever you're doing is working.
Hope so.
All right, we got some final questions. Is there anything that you wanted to share that we didn't cover? I mean, about
Well, I mentioned the record. I mentioned the recording that's coming out in the summer.
Okay.
Recorded it here in the States.
Oh, you recorded here in the States?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us who's on it?
So the project, the Roots in Jazz Band.
Okay.
That's what it's called. The music of Dizzy Reese.
Okay.
It features. Well, the tour that we did featured the trumpeter from the UK, Byron Wallen. Ralph Moore on tenor saxophone.
Yeah.
Woody Jones on drums. And Desmond Douglas on bass.
Wow.
And myself.
Beautiful.
When we did the show in New York, we had Josh Evans on trumpet.
Yeah, I was checking some of that out on YouTube. Yeah, something beautiful, man. That's good, man. Wow, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
So, once this is done, what's next for Trevor Watkis?
I want to record I want to do some more recordings of my own music.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
I've been writing music and just want to document some of my own compositions and try and get that heard and toured.
Yeah. So you and your siblings, are y'all still close?
Yeah, we're somewhat close. We were
And
separate and doing our own different things, but
And you said you have one that's a singer?
I have a brother that sings, yes.
Professional?
Mm-hmm. Cleveland Watkis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all the family musicians.
Yeah.
All right, we got one more question for you. How can people contact you? They want to learn about what you're doing, gigs, and that'll, whatever. You can look in the camera and talk to the people.
Oh, you could contact me via social media. I got a music page on Facebook and on Instagram. You just put my name in, Trevor Watkis. That's Watkis. And via my website, which is going to be revamped, so don't look yet. It's going to be revamped. www.trevorwatkis.com. That's Watkis with one S.
All right. Well, my brother, hey man, I'm very honored that I was able to catch you while you're in the States, man.
I'm
and
glad.
thank you for coming.
I'm glad I was able to.
Yeah, we worked it out.
Yeah.
It just, I think the reason why I do this is because everybody has a story.
Right.
And once we start telling the stories, we can create connections.
Absolutely.
And we can learn from each other.
Yeah, and I'm happy to be connected to you.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
In DC.
Yes, sir.
You're one of my connections to DC.
Yeah. And man, it's like one big jazz family.
Absolutely.
So man, thanks again for coming and
Thank you.
being on the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
For having me.
And there it is. You was listening to the wonderful pianist, Mr. Trevor Watkis. This is a conversation in jazz, and we'll see you on the next one.